Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, India and Russia ink wide-ranging pacts on healthcare, culture, food safety and polar waters training. India's central bank cuts repo rate by 25 basis points to 5.25% amid low inflation and strong growth. Germany votes to bring back voluntary military service program for 18-year-olds. British universities suspend admissions for students from Bangladesh and Pakistan amid visa misuse concern. And in cricket, India to play against South Africa in a series decider at Visakhapatnam on Saturday. President Draupadi Murmu hosted a banquet in honor of Russian President Vladimir Putin at the Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi on Friday evening. President Putin was accorded a ceremonial welcome upon his arrival at the banquet. The banquet comes towards the end of President Putin's two-day state visit to India, when he participated in a wide spectrum of events, including a crucial bilateral discussion with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Vladimir Putin of Russia held wide-ranging talks in New Delhi, reaffirming the depth and continuity of India-Russia ties. From strategic cooperation to global peace efforts, the two leaders reviewed key areas of partnership during President Putin's state visit. Amritpal Singh and Jessica Taneja report.
Against the backdrop of warmth and trust built over decades, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin came together at Hyderabad House in New Delhi, reaffirming the enduring friendship between India and Russia. Handshakes reflected history and conversations reflected the future, as the two leaders began high-level bilateral talks during President Putin's two-day state visit to India. Prime Minister Modi said that India and Russia share deep-rooted historical ties and that President Putin's visit holds special significance, marking 25 years since his first official visit to India in 2001.
एक्सेलेंसी, आपकी यात्रा बहुत ही ऐतिहासिक है। 2001 में जब आपने कार्यभार संभाला और भारत की आपकी यात्रा पहली हुई, उसको आज 25 साल हो गए और उस पहली यात्रा में ही स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप की एक मजबूत नींव रखी गई थी।
Prime Minister described President Putin as a visionary leader and said the strength of India-Russia relations reflects that vision.
एक्सेलेंसी, मैं मानता हूं कि ये जो 2001 में आपने जो भूमिका अदा की, एक विजनरी लीडर कैसे सोचता है, कहां से शुरू करता है और संबंधों को कहां तक पहुंचा सकता है, इसका एक उत्तम उदाहरण भारत रशिया के संबंध है।
On the Ukraine conflict, Prime Minister Modi reiterated that India stands firmly on the side of peace and assured that India supports all global efforts aimed at restoring peace.
आज हमने क्षेत्रीय और वैश्विक मुद्दों पर भी चर्चा की। यूक्रेन के संबंध में भारत ने शुरुआत से शांति का पक्ष रखा है। हम इस विषय के शांतिपूर्ण और स्थायी समाधान के लिए किए जा रहे सभी प्रयासों का स्वागत करते हैं। भारत सदैव अपना योगदान देने के लिए तैयार रहा है और आगे भी रहेगा।
President Vladimir Putin thanked India for its constructive role and attention towards peace initiatives related to Ukraine. President Putin also highlighted the expanding scope of cooperation between India and Russia across sectors such as defense, space, artificial intelligence, high technology, and aircraft development.
In the joint statement that we've adopted with Mr. Modi, we've delineated the priority objectives on the further reinforcements of our ties in the politics and security, economy, trade, in humanitarian and cultural spheres. As you saw yourself, we have signed an impressive package of intergovernmental, interagency and corporate agreements. Many of those agreements are intended to broaden the economic cooperation between Russia and India. And this is entirely natural due to the fact that our countries are important partners of one another in trade, investment and technologies.
President Vladimir Putin offered floral tributes to Mahatma Gandhi at Rajghat, honoring Bapu's legacy and teachings. Mahatma Gandhi had several connections with Russia, which form part of the shared history of our two countries. Earlier, President Putin was accorded a ceremonial guard of honor at Rashtrapati Bhavan. With renewed resolve and shared purpose, India and Russia look ahead to a future shaped by peace, partnership, and progress. With Amritpal and Jessica, Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, India and Russia sealed a wide-ranging package of agreements and a joint statement in New Delhi on Friday, reaffirming their special and privileged strategic partnership and setting an ambitious economic, technological and connectivity agenda.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Vladimir Putin oversaw the adoption of a Vision 2030 framework. Multiple MOUs on trade, energy, connectivity, and people to people exchanges, and a joint press statement addressing defense, nuclear, and space cooperation. Building on the earlier framework announced by the two leaders to deepen industrial, technological, and investment ties. The two leaders outlined a core outcome to guide trade and economic partnership up to 2030 to address the trade imbalance, promote Indian exports, and diversify cooperation into high technology sectors, digital transformation, and critical infrastructure. 16 MOUs and agreements were signed by the two leaders. Two MOUs on manpower mobility to regulate skilled Indian worker movement, recruitment, protection, and vocational training. Agreement on joint urea production to bolster India's fertilizer security and agricultural supply chains. MOU on training Indian seafarers for polar and Arctic waters, aiding Northern Sea Route participation. Shipbuilding cooperation framework for joint design, technology transfer, local manufacturing, and maritime infrastructure. Cooperation on critical minerals and supply chains for clean energy, electronics, and advanced manufacturing. Connectivity efforts highlighted support for the international north-south transport corridor and maritime routes to enhance supply chain efficiency. Energy cooperation emphasized Russia's role in India's energy security across hydrocarbons, LNG, coal, nuclear fuel, and hydrogen. The economic goals include higher bilateral trade volumes by 2030, targeting 100 billion US dollars and broader Indian exports. Bureau Report, DD India.
Prime Minister Modi and President Putin addressed the India-Russia Business Forum in New Delhi, highlighting defense, nuclear energy, trade and counter-terror cooperation. Tapas Bhattacharya has more.
A spirit of friendship and strategic trust marked the India-Russia Business Forum in New Delhi. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin addressed the forum in New Delhi following their delegation-level talks at Hyderabad House during President Putin's first India visit in 4 years.
बिजनेस हो या डिप्लोमेसी, किसी भी साझेदारी की नींव आपसी विश्वास है। भारत रूस संबंधों की सबसे बड़ी शक्ति यही विश्वास है। ये हमारे साझे प्रयासों को दिशा भी देता है और गति भी देता है। यही वह लॉन्च पैड है जो हमें नए सपनों, नई आकांक्षाओं की उड़ान भरने के लिए प्रेरित करता है।
Prime Minister Modi announced that after defense and space, India now plans to open the civil nuclear sector to private players as well, calling it a major mindset reform. He expressed confidence that the ambitious target of $100 billion in bilateral trade by 2030 could be achieved ahead of schedule.
पिछले वर्ष राष्ट्रपति पुतिन और मैंने 2030 तक द्विपक्षीय व्यापार को $100 बिलियन का उस लक्ष्य को पार करने का हमने निर्धार किया था। लेकिन कल से मेरी जो राष्ट्रपति पुतिन से बात हो रही है और जिस प्रकार के पोटेंशियल नजर आ रहे हैं, मुझे नहीं लगता कि हमें 2030 तक इंतजार करना पड़ेगा। ये मैं साफ देख रहा हूं। हम उस लक्ष्य को समय से पहला पूरा करने के संकल्प के साथ आगे बढ़ रहे हैं और मेरा विश्वास बढ़ रहा है।
President Putin praised India for pursuing an independent and sovereign policy with strong results. Both leaders announced that India and Russia have finalized an economic cooperation program until 2030 to diversify trade and strengthen long-term business ties, with energy remaining a key pillar of cooperation.
Today, the Indian economy is one of the fastest growing in the world. Figures speak for themselves. Over a decade, the GDP of the country has almost doubled, and in terms of the purchasing power parity, it increased by 2.5 times. Thanks to the sound economic policy and such landmark initiatives by Prime Minister Modi as Make in India program, India is strengthening its technological sovereignty.
Prime Minister Modi also revealed that both sides will work towards the early conclusion of a free trade agreement with the Eurasian Economic Union. On terror, PM Modi said, India and Russia stand shoulder to shoulder against the global threat of terrorism, emphasizing that it is an attack on humanity itself. President Putin reaffirmed Russia's readiness to ensure uninterrupted fuel supplies to India and explore cooperation in nuclear and energy infrastructure. Tapas Bhattacharya's report for DD India.
Reactions from both Russian and Indian business leaders have poured in with regard to India-Russia Business Forum meeting. They have by and large praised the endeavor, saying that there is a huge potential of business collaborations between both nations, and they heap praises on the political leadership of both countries. Take a listen.
Frankly speaking, I'm really impressed because, you know, India is a combination of long history and technologies of the future. So I'm very glad that our leaders has, I can't say business relations or political relations, because it's a big friendship, not only business or political relations. I'm really glad that they're meeting and that they get together the businesses of India and Russia to find some interesting additional potential for the mutual development.
Your leader and our leader, big friends, and the main idea, each of them, to help first of all their own country, their own people. And in this situation, very nice that we together and we develop our relationships, friendship relationships, and I'm sure that this meeting will be very fruitful.
I think India and Russia have been trusted partners for ever. And I think we've come to, somebody said, you know, through thick and thin, through all kinds of weathers, we have stayed together. Of course, I think with this friendship, we do see this going to another level.
The Indian-Russian friendship has been great since many, many years always. I was but recently in Moscow, around 3-4 months back, when I had gone with a delegation with Jaishankar ji. And I could see the warmth that the Russians have, especially for Indians. And I could see, you know, they had such high regards for our Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji and they believed, he has changed the face of the country, and they believed, the kind of camaraderie, kind of friendship that Russia and India has, and what the current leadership is taking it forward. I think it is very, very commendable, because as countries we need to partner, we need to support, and need to see in today's geopolitical scenario, it's great to have, friends like Russia.
And in a gesture of goodwill, Prime Minister Modi presented a set of culturally significant gifts to President Putin during his India visit. The collection highlighted India's rich heritage. It included fine Assam black tea, prized for its malty flavor and GI recognition, and an ornate Murshidabad silver tea set from West Bengal, showcasing intricate craftsmanship. A handcrafted silver horse from Maharashtra reflected India's metal artistry, while a marble chess set from Agra under the ODOP initiative blended elegance with tradition. Kashmiri saffron, known for its deep aroma and color, symbolized India's culinary and cultural pride with GI and one district, one product status. The highlight was a Russian translation of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, offering timeless spiritual wisdom and underscoring India's cultural depth. Together, the gifts represented India's traditions, artistry, and values of friendship. Still to come on DD India Newshour. Pakistan's Army Chief Field Marshal Syed Asim Munir appointed Chief of Defense Forces. And the US conducts another strike on a suspected drug trafficking boat.
So our episode is on accountability more than just an apology text.
Yep.
We didn't get one, did we?
If no British politician has the courage to issue an apology, get somebody from the royal family to do it, because after all, everything was done in the name of the crown. No one likes to be told that in their family tree there are a lot of skeletons. They have never allowed themselves to confront the horrors of their past, so I'm sorry to say we never got the apology. There is not just amnesia on the part of the British, the colonizers, but there is some forgetfulness or ignorance on the part of the rest of us too.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. India's central bank, the Reserve Bank of India, has announced its bi-monthly monetary policy. In a unanimous decision, its Monetary Policy Committee reduced the repo rate by 25 basis points to 5.25%, signaling a growth-supportive and proactive stance amid external uncertainties impacting India's economic outlook. Shyama Mishra has more from Mumbai.
RBI, in its last bi-monthly monetary policy of the calendar year, cut the repo rate to 5.25%, marking a total reduction of 125 basis points so far in 2025. The move is expected to lower EMIs for borrowers, easing the cost of loans.
The MPC voted unanimously to reduce the policy repo rate by 25 basis points to 5.25% with immediate effect. Consequently, the STF rate under the LAF shall stand adjusted to 5% and the MSF and bank rate to 5.5%. The MPC also decided to continue with the neutral stance.
Governor Sanjay Malhotra said RBI cited favorable conditions for easing as consumer price index inflation fell to a record low of 0.25% in October, well below the central bank's target. RBI also raised India's GDP growth forecast for financial year 26 to 7.3% from the earlier estimate of 6.8%.
CPI inflation declined to an all-time low in October 2025. The faster than anticipated decline in inflation was led by correction in food prices, contrary to the usual trend witnessed during the months of September and October. Real GDP growth for this year is now projected at 7.3%. This is up by about 0.5% from our earlier projections.
To inject liquidity into the banking system, Central Bank will carry out open market operations purchasing government securities worth 1 lakh crore rupees. It will also execute a 3-year US dollar INR buy-sell swap for $5 billion in December.
The Reserve Bank has decided to conduct OMO purchases of government securities of 1 lakh crore rupees and a 3-year dollar rupee buy-sell swap of $5 billion this month in December to inject further durable liquidity into the system.
However, RBI cautioned that global challenges, including geopolitical tensions and economic volatility, continue to influence the policy environment. The central bank reaffirmed its commitment to balancing growth with price stability, ensuring inflation remains within the target range.
The 25 basis point rate cut by the Reserve Bank of India is a timely, growth-supportive move as India braces for external uncertainties. With added support to liquidity, the Reserve Bank of India has now set the stage for smoother credit and steadier momentum ahead. With camera person Kapil Maske, this is Shama Mishra for DD India, Mumbai.
India's Civil Aviation Ministry has taken serious note of the recent operational disruptions and cancellations of flights across Indigo Airlines' network. The next report by Adamya Mishra tells us about how Indigo has cancelled flights leading to woes of passengers at airports across India on Friday.
Air travel across India was in turmoil for the 4th day after Indigo cancelled around 500 flights on Friday after failing to plan for new pilot flying time regulations, which increased the amount of mandatory rest per week for pilots by 12 hours to 48 hours, effective November 1st. Minister of Civil Aviation, Kinjarapu Ram Mohan Naidu, chaired a high-level review meeting with Indigo's senior management and expressed clear displeasure regarding the manner in which the situation was handled by the airline.
In fact, from December 3rd, since when the Indigo has been facing major operational issues and because of which there have been a lot of delays and cancellations, the Ministry of Civil Aviation has been actively on the ground engaging with all the necessary stakeholders for two things. One, for passenger care, comfort and convenience. We want to reduce all the inconvenience that the passengers are facing at the airports. And two, we want to ensure safe operations in the country also. This two priority, the ministry has been thoroughly engaging from day one.
Indigo is facing a shortage of pilots after new government rules to combat fatigue for pilots came into effect. This has resulted in long delays at major airports in New Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad and Bengaluru, leaving passengers stranded and visibly angry.
We have been come over for the Hornbill Festival in Nagaland. So 20 of us, around few of us had booked the flights. So those are booked in Akasa and Air India. They didn't have any hassle at all. They were departed with their flights. Only Indigo has its concern.
We booked an Indigo flight. This is at 7:10. And till now, we have no information whether the flight is going to take off or not. As per now, each and every flight is being cancelled.
Amidst the ongoing crisis, Indigo Airlines, which commands 60% of India's aviation market, has flagged that it does not expect to fully restore operations until February 10th. Adamya Mishra's report for DD India.
The standoff between the US and Venezuela is intensifying, driven by controversial US strikes on suspected drug vessels. The US is defending its actions as part of a war on cartels, while the US lawmakers opposed to President Trump question the legality of attacks that left survivors dead. In Venezuela, President Nicolas Maduro is using the moment to rally national support and deepen alliances, especially with China, as the region braces for heightened uncertainty. Nishjoy Roy has more.
A dangerous mix of geopolitics, rising regional tensions and drug war escalation is reshaping the US-Venezuela relationship. The Pentagon says a fresh US strike in the Eastern Pacific on Thursday has killed 4 suspected drug traffickers. This comes as lawmakers question a September 2nd attack in the Caribbean that killed 11 people, including survivors hit in a second strike. Democratic lawmakers say the video footage is deeply troubling, raising concerns about potential violations of international law.
But what I saw in that room was one of the most troubling things I've seen in my time in public service. You have 2 individuals in clear distress, without any means of locomotion, with a destroyed vessel, who were killed by the United States.
The Trump administration argues these cartels threaten American lives and that the narcotics being transported are deadly. But critics are demanding accountability and clarity on Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's role.
As I've said, and I'll say again, we've only just begun striking narco boats and putting narco terrorists at the bottom of the ocean because they've been poisoning the American people.
In Caracas, President Nicolas Maduro used his weekly radio show to assert Venezuela's sovereignty and highlight China's political support. He warned that if armed struggle becomes necessary, it will be to defend peace and the homeland.
If we have to resort to armed struggle, it will be to fight for peace, for sovereignty, for our homeland, for the greatness of Bolivar, to defend this land. I hope that with the favor of God and our Commander of Commanders, our Lord Jesus Christ, we will continue as we are going. Well, in terms of diplomatic political cooperation, everyday China publicly supports Venezuela's right to exercise its sovereignty and to peace.
With US operations expanding and Venezuela hardening its stance, the region faces a tense and uncertain phase where security, diplomacy and energy politics collide. Nishroy Roy's report for DD India.
In Europe, meanwhile, Germany's parliament on Friday approved a controversial military service law aimed at expanding the German army and meeting NATO targets as heightened tensions with Russia drive European nations to bolster defense capabilities. The legislation, passed after months of debate, introduces a dual-track system combining enhanced voluntary service with the option to activate needs-based conscription if recruitment falls short.
If the threat situation continues to develop in the same way or worsens, we will have no choice but to introduce compulsory partial military service in order to protect this country.
The move sparked protests outside the parliament in Berlin, with demonstrators denouncing what they described as the gradual reintroduction of conscription. Tightened immigration controls and rising concerns over alleged visa misuse have caused UK universities to suspend or halt admissions to students from Bangladesh and Pakistan. According to the Financial Times newspaper, at least 9 higher education institutions have imposed restrictions on applicants from both these countries. The UK classifies both these countries as high-risk nations. The tightening comes after the UK Home Office revised its basic compliance assessment rules in September, forcing institutions to comply with the rules or risk losing their license. According to official data, visa refusal rates for Bangladeshi applicants stood at 22% and 18% for Pakistani applicants as of September. The move follows a sharp rise in visa refusal rates and asylum claims linked to international students. Pakistan's Army Chief Field Marshal Syed Asim Munir has been appointed the country's first Chief of Defence Forces, giving him formal command over all 3 branches of the military. The appointment was approved by President Asif Ali Zardari on the advice of Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and follows the creation of the new post through a constitutional amendment earlier this week. General Munir will serve as a 5-year term in the role while continuing as the Chief of Army Staff. The new structure, introduced under the 27th Amendment to Article 243 of the Constitution, consolidates operational, administrative and strategic military authority under a single official. It marks Pakistan's most significant military command overhaul since the 1970s. In Nepal, Krishna Prasad Yadav, Parliamentary Party leader of Nepali Congress in Madhya Provincial Assembly, appointed Chief Minister on Friday. Mr. Yadav secured support from 77 members across 6 parties following the resignation of CPN-UML leader Saroj Kumar Yadav on 3rd December. Madhya's politics has seen rapid changes since October, with multiple resignations and shifting coalitions. The new Chief Minister now leads with the backing from Nepali Congress, the JSP, the Janamat Party, the Maoist Centre, the Loktantrik Samajwadi Party and the Unified Socialists. Still to come on DD India NewsHour. An expert take on the current and future trajectory of India-Russia relations.
In today's episode, let's take a look at what does it truly mean to eat sustainably.
We add the already colonized mycelium into this ecosystem for basically helping the ecosystem to thrive more.
We're a public institution. Our goal is to grow vegetables.
Some urban areas already combine city and rural elements. Our urban agriculture programs are designed to tackle food security and meet the nutritional needs of the poor.
If you're prepared to love the land and the animals and don't see living such a life as making a sacrifice, then this is the right profession for you.
After gaining some knowledge about farming, I told myself, let's quit this and start our own business. And I decided to start goat farming.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Right, going back to the top story we are tracking here on DD India NewsHour, President Putin's visit to India and the current and future trajectory of India-Russia relations. Joining us are Ambassador C. Rajashekhar and Mr. Sandeep Tripathi. Ambassador Rajashekhar is a former Indian envoy to Cuba, Dominican Republic and Haiti. Mr. Tripathi is a foreign affairs commentator. Gentlemen, welcome to DD India NewsHour. Ambassador, if I can come to you first, did the summit outcomes tick all the right boxes for you?
Yes, of course. This may be the most productive 30 hours, making it a landmark visit in the growth and development of India-Russia relations. They are time-tested. Prime Minister said these are like the Dhruv Tara, Lodestar.
That's right.
In a constant in the times of uncertainty and geopolitical complexity.
Indeed. Mr. Tripathi, what did you make of a 2030 economic roadmap? By the way, its official title or name is fairly long. Program for the Development of Strategic Areas of India-Russia Economic Cooperation till 2030. Your thoughts, Mr. Tripathi?
First of all, there was lots of talk regarding the oil and defense deal. But I think this visit focused beyond the oil and defense, and that is why in the business forum, both leaders have expressed a deep commitment to just to maintain this trade relations as a balanced. So balanced trade relations means that whatever we have a trade deficit with Russia, both leaders will try to focus on to maintain and to balance, especially India, because currently we have a $59 billion deficit. So this is a real concern. I think both leadership tried to overcome these challenges in terms of the new avenues of opportunity, like mobility programs, human resource. At least 10 lakhs people should be there in Russia. And my personal experience is that in Russia, there are lots of opportunity, for example, in pharma, agricultural products and all. So even Putin himself invited Indian business lobby, please come in Russia and try to make influence in terms of the cultural expansion. So I think only this is way that will reduce the trade deficit with Russian Federation.
Indeed. Ambassador Rajashekhar, are you surprised that the focus has almost entirely been on trade and commerce? Or are we missing something here in terms of tangible outcomes insofar as defense and security cooperation is concerned?
Far from that. In fact, economic expansion of economic partnership, broad-basing trade investment relationship with a clear roadmap leading up to the year 2030, of course, forms the centerpiece of the partnership. But at the same time, also was there in the delegation, the Russian defense minister. He had detailed deliberations with Indian Raksha Mantriji, also delegation level talks to further deepen and enhance strong defense cooperation that we have. And there have been agreements to strengthen our Make in India program and also to promote Atmanirbhar Bharat so that our defense production capabilities increase. And there have been very detailed discussions. In terms of outcome, there were 16 MOUs and agreements signed and 5 outcomes. So very productive by and all visit that we must say. There are different components. Economic, of course, is centerpiece. Defense, security, collaboration, cooperation also is an important factor.
Right. Mr. Tripathi, how do Russia and India intend to insulate their trade from the twin effects or impacts of 1, Western sanctions on Russian entities, and 2, US tariffs on India? Then there are the related issues of payment mechanism, banking services, protection of investments, government's role in facilitating trade, and last but not the least, incentivizing private players to venture into Russia.
Very interesting question, an important question. See, I see from the both sides. First, from the Russian side, President Putin reaffirmed and reassured that there will be uninterrupted supply of oil, crude oil to India. That is the one point, without any pressure. And he has sidelined any kind of sanction politics and the pressure coming from the West first. Second, from Indian point of view, India has already sidelined the US concern in terms of the tariff, because we are facing 25% tariff just because India buys crude oil from Russia, and it is claim and argument made by the USA and Western countries that Indian oil fuels war, and if USA imports uranium, it fuels peace. This is the double standard played by the Western countries. So we are very clear about our agenda and mission. And the mission is that both leadership, especially Prime Minister Modi and President Putin, they are very clear about their trade boost and diversify the trade beyond the defense and oil. This is the one point. Second point that you mentioned here, that in the defense sector also, reloads. Reciprocity sense of logistic support. It's a major boost in defense pact in terms of India and Russia defense cooperation. Both countries are willingness to provide a basis for the training, for the joint exercises, and from any kind of disaster management. So I think these are the milestones in this visit, Reloads Pact, and in trade beyond oil and defense, because we all talking about the defense, we all talking about the oil, nobody's talking about, and that is why this space is open to bridge this gap. The gap is that to open skilled forces, skilled human resources in Russia. Putin invited Indian youths, please come in Russia and invest your vision, energy, and potential in Russian market. A farmer sector, agriculture sector, food product, lots of areas of cooperation are there. I think this is the first time that both countries are going to beyond traditional areas of cooperation, defense and oil. Oil is something you can say it is something coincidental. It's not you can say a fruitful trade relation, because after 2022, we have around $68 billion. Before that, it was 30 So it surged just because of the Russia-Ukraine war. So we want to maintain and sustain our trade relationship with the wide range of, with the wide avenues of commodity.
Indeed, fair point. But Rajashekhar, there's no denying that trade without connectivity is a non-starter. So can they expect renewed focus on infrastructure to support the goal of achieving a $100 billion trade turnover by 2030? I ask you this because Prime Minister Modi, for one, is bullish on the idea of connectivity. He has spoken about the international north-south transport corridor, the northern sea route, and the Chennai-Vladivostok maritime corridor.
Precisely, you mentioned, say, let's place this, how to enhance, promote, expand economic partnership. It may fall into the categories of insulating the growth of trade investment from other pressures, external pressures, to broad basing trade and investment into diversified areas. Third one is facilitating and promoting, including through connectivity. You have mentioned those connectivity issues. And in terms of facilitation, there have been ongoing efforts, building blocks, like more than 20 banks have opened a special rupee Vostro account for settling, making international trade, between Russia and India, trade settlements. And the two countries have been promoting encouraging the captains of industry and trade. Today, there have been several agreements, including in the area of producing urea in Russia for the benefit of both Russia and India, and also co-production, co-innovation, and as you said, long named the roadmap leading up to the year 2030 to take the present two-way bilateral trade to $100 billion. Presently, it stands at about 68, $69 billion, out of which only about $5 billion constitute India's export. The focus this time has been how India can broad base, increase the basket of Indian exports, several key areas, including pharmaceuticals, agriculture, tourism. So India offering 1 month gratis visa, e-visa for Russian tourists, and also group tourists is also a factor in this direction, that we want to see more Russian tourists traveling to India. That would, one, promote mutual understanding, greater understanding about India and Russia, and also two, would promote Indian tourism products to address the trade imbalance. Both leaders have agreed that they shall encourage institutionally sustained and diversified growth, so that there will be two-way trade of $100 billion by the year 2030.
Right. Mr. Tripathi, if I were to expand the scope and ambit of our discussion, President Putin thanked Prime Minister Modi in particular for paying, how he described as, special attention to the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Now, for his part, Prime Minister Modi says that India is on the side of peace and that he hopes for an early return to peace. Now, can India, which is in contact with all parties to the conflict, play the role of a peacemaker, you think?
Very important questions. See, India has lots of potential. I think India has shown its potential that only India can do this peace deal, and because the kind of credential we have. And that is why, even in the last 2 years back in Samarkand summit, Prime Minister Modi had appealed for the dialogue and diplomacy to resolve this conflict. Even today, it was the annual summit, it was a bilateral summit, but the very first statement given by a Prime Minister that we are seeking a more secure and peace world. We are very open to extend our support to resolve, to diffuse this conflict between Iran and Ukraine and Russia. And that's why, and no other country like US and European countries, they don't have such kind of credential. They are pushing for because in behind of the peace deal. Everyone knows about the Trump's intention. Everyone knows about the NATO and European countries' intention, and that is why even Zelensky himself wanted to have kind of dialogue, and even NATO chief also so many times requested that Indian Prime Minister has a potential to resolve this issue. And that is why beyond this bilateral summit, beyond this annual summit, Indian Prime Minister had reaffirmed its commitment that we are willing to resolve this, to mediate with the two forces, Ukraine and Russia, and let's resolve this war zone, and we hope for any kind of long-lasting peace and tranquility.
Ambassador Rajashekhar, is there scope for Russia and India to extend their cooperation to third countries or regions, namely Afghanistan, Central Asia, or even the Arctic?
India-Russia friendship and cooperation is a factor for stability and peace in these times of geopolitical uncertainty. And the two leaders exchanged notes on regional developments. Of course, expectedly, lion's share, large portion of the time went to the President Putin briefing the Prime Minister about the ongoing efforts and the latest situation on the Ukraine front. President Putin has received American proposal to end the war. And on that, President Putin has briefed that Russia stands positively. And India said that India is not on the side of, is not neutral, but it's clearly and steadfastly on the side of peace. And we would like to see the cessation of hostilities soonest. And India stands by to help in any and every possible manner. Of course, the other issues like Afghanistan, Arctic were mentioned, but not as in such greater detail.
And finally, before we close this discussion, Mr. Tripathi, is the famed camaraderie between Prime Minister Modi and President Putin still very much intact? Prime Minister Modi personally receiving President Putin at the airport, the proverbial hug, and then a power ride in the Prime Minister's car to a private dinner. What did you make of the symbolism of it all?
This is the car diplomacy. This is symbolism that if the friendship are the time tested, if the friendship are historically a very reliable partnership, no matter any protocol. Protocol doesn't exist if our friendship are very intact in terms of the trust and in terms of the reliability.
Right. On that note, may I thank both our guests, Mr. Tripathi and Ambassador Rajashekhar, for joining us and sharing your perspectives, your thoughts with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Right, and moving on to some other news we're tracking here on DD India Newshour. The death toll in Sri Lanka has risen to 607, with 214 people still missing after Cyclone Ditwa triggered massive floods and landslides across several districts. India has announced a major relief effort under Operation Sagar Bandhu, delivering over 58 tons of aid, field hospitals, Bailey Bridge units, helicopters, National Disaster Response Force teams and naval support. Nearly 150 people were rescued and evacuated, while also recovering several deceased victims and stranded animals. The Patan Craft and Culture Festival in Lalitpur, Nepal attracted art lovers and handicraft enthusiasts. The expo is running for a week, jointly organized by the Federation of Handicraft Associations of Nepal, Lalitpur and the Patan Museum. The festival aims to promote Nepali art, culture and traditional handicrafts. The event is running until 7 December at Patan Darbar Square and the Patan Museum premises. The festival features about 21 canopy stalls and 10 table stalls, along with servings of traditional Nevari foods. Also, the Handicraft Promotion Committee of Lalitpur has showcased Nevari traditional jewelry and ethnic costumes used in the 10 rites of Buddhism. The Indian Army conducted its annual Idea and Innovation Competition and Seminar Inno Yodha 2025 at the Manekshaw Center in New Delhi on Friday. Lieutenant General Pushpendra Pal Singh, the Vice Chief of the Army Staff, was present on the occasion. The seminar, held every year, is the Indian Army's flagship platform to identify, nurture and scale in-house innovations that address capability gaps and strengthen operational, logistics and training effectiveness. My colleague Vishal Badisto spoke to one of such innovators.
This is SEPA Scout RP 2.0 unmanned ground vehicle. It can carry weight up to 900 kgs, and I have with me Major Raj Prasad, who has innovated this vehicle. Let's talk to him and find out. SEPA Scout Multi-Utility UGV. So how crucial is this for Indian Army?
So this platform was a smaller platform for ISL creation, for infantry safe lane creation a few years back. Now I was working on making it a bigger platform, and now as you see, this has evolved to become a multi-utility unmanned ground vehicle. As you can see, the form factor of the platform, this has 6 wheels. It's an all-terrain platform with every wheel having independent articulation, and it's an electric platform. This can be employed in multiple type of terrain, including desert sectors and high-altitude sectors and multiple other operational environment. The most important characteristics of this platform is it can be employed in multifarious role, like payload carriage. As you rightly mentioned, it can be used for any kind of payload. This also has a capability of mine detection and mine scattering system, wherein we can actually use this platform for laying mines across territories, and this can also be modularly used for employing various other payloads like counter UAS system. We can use it for casualty evacuation.
How did this idea come to you that you should have this unmanned ground vehicle, which is so effective?
See, as you're aware, Indian Army is now embracing the latest trends of modern warfare, and we are now evolving to manned-unmanned teaming in battlefield, wherein we are seen recently, UAS system, unmanned aerial system, has emerged to become a pivotal, important equipment in battlefield. Similarly, unmanned ground vehicles are also critical to complement the ground forces, the mech and the ground forces, to carry out operations.
Very rightly said, from innovation to induction, and this SEPA Scout would soon be part of Indian Army. With cameraman Sanjeev in Delhi, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
India is stepping confidently into the front lines of global technology development. As part of this rising tech momentum, the country is gearing up to host the prestigious AI Impact Summit in February next year. Now, India is rapidly emerging as a major force in cutting-edge technologies, including AI, semiconductors and drones. As part of this push, the AI Impact Summit will be held in February, showcasing India's leadership in shaping future technologies. In the run-up to the summit, more than 200 events have been organized nationwide, similar to the G20 model of nationwide engagement. More than 200,000 students and researchers have already participated, gaining exposure to global technological trends. Andhra Pradesh, like other states, is an integral part of this journey, with new data centers rising across India. And last but not the least, the government stresses that these data centers form the backbone of future productivity and tech-driven growth. India's electronics sector is powering into a new era of growth, transforming the country into a major global producer. Electronics manufacturing in India has grown 6-fold over the past 11 years. Exports have seen an 8-fold jump in the same period, marking a major rise in global competitiveness. India is emerging as a significant electronics manufacturing hub, powered by Self-Reliant India and Make in India campaigns. Government efforts are focused on expanding production across the entire electronics value chain. Special emphasis is being placed on developing the semiconductor ecosystem to reduce import reliance. Policies and incentives aim to position India as a global leader in high-value electronics manufacturing. And now to news from the world of sport. The Indian team might ring in some changes in the playing 11 as they face South Africa in the series decider third one-day international in Visakhapatnam on Saturday. Both teams have won one match each, so the winner will bag the three-match series. India could drop fast bowler Prasidh Krishna after he conceded 85 runs in 8.2 overs in the previous match, where the hosts failed to defend the target of 359 runs. Washington's Sundar's place is also under the scanner. The spin bowling all-rounder failed to make a significant contribution with the bat in the first two matches. He might be replaced with wicket-keeper batter Rishabh Pant. All eyes will be on Virat Kohli following his impressive back-to-back centuries. Meanwhile, South Africa captain Themba Bavuma is not likely to change the winning combination. But there was injury concerns for the visitors as pacer Nandre Berger and batter Tony Zezorzi have undergone scans. The 2026 Indian Premier League auction is set to begin in Abu Dhabi on Saturday, where 10 franchise teams will outbid each other. In the meantime, let's get you the latest from New Delhi as the President of Russia departs India after concluding his two-day state visit to India, where he took part in the 23rd India-Russia Annual Summit. If you're just joining us, we're getting to the latest visuals of President Vladimir Putin of Russia ending his state visit to India and departing New Delhi for his return journey home. We can see Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar and other ministers in attendance at the New Delhi airport. Right, just to recap the visuals that you are watching on our screens, Russian President Vladimir Putin is departing New Delhi towards the end of his two-day state visit to India. And that's all for this edition of DD India Newshour. You can get the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app, which is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You may wish to scan the QR code . Right, we're getting some more visuals from earlier in the evening of the two presidents of India meeting at Rashtrapati Bhavan. Right, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Newshour.